What's up YouTube? In this episode of Expat Survival, I'm going to teach you, as a foreigner, how to take public transportation in China. Now there are many cities in China, but I'm particularly going to be focusing on the tier 1 cities like Guangzhou, Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, etc. And if you can ride them in one, you can ride them in all. So what I'm going to be doing is going through the slowest and the cheapest to the fastest way of public transportation in China. One thing you'll realize when you come to China is that the public transportation systems here are super developed, super quick, and super convenient. You can't ask for a better life. So let's get started. So the first form of transportation I'm going to be talking about is bicycle. So you can expect to pay between 1 to 4 RMB, which is less than $1, for every trip you take. Pretty much you have to download an application. In my case, I downloaded Mobike, the app, and then you have to register with your passport and your face and link it to your WeChat account. But there are other competitors out there that you can use as well, and it's really user-friendly. So if you see a Mobike outside, because they're like everywhere in China, you can simply scan the QR code on the bike, verify that it's the correct bike, and click unlock. And then it unlocks the bike and you can go on your way. When you're finished, as long as you park it in the right area that's authorized, you lock the bike and then you get charged 1 to 4 RMB based on how long you use it. Super convenient, super easy to use, and I love it. Okay, the next one I'm going to be talking about is the subway. I'm sure you've seen a lot of videos about horror stories about taking the subway in China because there's so many people at the wrong time, at the wrong place, and it's very inconvenient. However, it's one of my preferred methods of public transportation here. You can expect to pay between 2 to 8 RMB. Just realize that the subway costs are based on your location and the distance you're going versus a standard fee that other countries may have. So expect to pay more the further you go. Now there's multiple ways to take the subway here. Luckily, in developed tier 1 cities, there's usually English translations for all the stops. And you can pay either through WeChat, through a cashless kiosk, which is typically a little faster in some cases for me. So you can see an example here on how I pay on a cashless kiosk. You simply approach the kiosk, it has a map, you click on which stop you want to stop at. If you can read colors and you can read numbers, you can figure out where to transfer and get to your final location. And there's maps everywhere inside the subway. So it's very convenient to use. And you get a token, you simply scan your token inside the gates and then you drop off your token at your final destination. Done deal. You can also download an application, which I've tried as well, but it's a little bit slower. You may have to wait like 3 seconds at the gate, which may be a minor inconvenience. And once you download the application, you just scan your way into the gate. When you get to your final destination, you scan your way out to the gate. When you scan out, that's when you get charged via WeChat through the application. Very convenient. The next form of transportation I'm going to be talking about is a bus, which has similar cost as a subway, between 2 to 10 RMB. Typically, I only take the bus if I'm going to really remote locations that I cannot take a subway or a Mobike, and there's just like no other way to get there. Something to note, it is not so foreign friendly, so I do not recommend it unless you absolutely have to go there. You have to go to the bus stop and you kind of have to figure out the Chinese characters if you're going to the right direction. Maybe you download Baidu apps and figure out the exact bus stop through the application, but it's not foreigner friendly, as in like all the signs are in Chinese and you need to be able to read and maybe speak some Chinese with the bus driver. But if you do decide to take the bus, you can either download a specific application that's usually in the bus stops for you to just scan your QR code when you get in, or you'd have to buy like a public transportation card that you'd have to scan in on the bus and then go on your way. I've used the bus here a couple times, usually very crowded, and I don't prefer it versus the subway. But if you have to go to a really remote location, it's an option for you. Okay, the next one I'm going to be talking about is DiDi, or hailing a taxi. So DiDi is pretty much the Uber of China. You can simply download the application and you can change the settings to English that you can see in my example here. Once you set it to English, just make sure you know how to type in the location you're going to and you activate your GPS on your phone, and you can order a taxi based on the size or luxury like you can in an Uber, like if you want a Mercedes versus like a Toyota Camry, and you'll be on your way. A couple things to realize that in the English version, you will have to text in English. They may call you and verify your location, which has happened to me, but I speak a little bit of Chinese, so I can kind of like guide them in the right direction. But if it happens to you, just send them a text saying, hey, I only speak English, please respond to me in English, I'm at this location. There's a little bit of a risk that you may have your trip canceled because they can't communicate with you using DiDi, but that's available. Another way is hailing a taxi. So if you see a sign in the taxi that says, I think 空车, which means vacant car, and it's usually red lights inside the car that you can see right here, that means the taxi is available. You can hail them down. What I recommend is that you have at least a map with the Chinese name of the location you're going to, and you can just show them and they'll figure out where you're going. Something to note, before you finish your ride or even start your ride, make sure they run the meter called dabiao. You do the motion too so that they understand, because if not, they will take advantage of you, especially if you're a foreigner. It's happened to me like 5 times. So as soon as I realized they weren't going to run the meter, I told them, get me out of the car, I'll get another taxi. And they will charge you like 50 or 60 RMB when it should really be like 20 RMB. Okay, this is the last one, guys. So I'm going to be going through my favorite one now, which is the bullet train or the speed train. You can call it whatever you want. It's one of my favorite ones because you can pretty much go into any city in China using this public transportation system. One thing to note is that you can buy your tickets online through an app called cTrip. And if you want to know exactly how to use cTrip, you can look at the description card above and you can click on that video at a later time. But anyways, once you book your ticket on cTrip, if you're a foreigner, unfortunately, you have to go pick up your ticket with your passport at the station. You can't just go through with your electronic ticket like you're used to maybe in your home country with a QR code on your phone. However, if you're a Chinese citizen, you book it online, you can just use your ID card and go on your way with facial recognition system. Pretty convenient. When you do go ahead and purchase your ticket either online or in person at the ticket office, make sure you go to the right line. This is something I have to warn you guys about. When you arrive at the line, don't expect English. Some cities have English translations like collect office or collect booth, buying booth, changing or transfer booths. And in my case in Guangzhou, it had it, but there were cases like in Beijing that I didn't see a translation, so I kind of had to ask around, hey, I bought my ticket online, I'm trying to pick it up here, showing them my passport, and then you go on your way. When you go through customs, make sure you go through the one that doesn't have facial recognition and that has a live customs officer checking you, making sure that the name on the ticket matches the name on your passport. I say this because if you're in a rush and you think you're gonna miss your train and you think you can go through the facial recognition gates and you don't have a Chinese ID card, they will kick you back and it'll just take a longer time. Just go through the one with the customs officer and then they'll verify the names match and you go on your way, just to save you some time. So if you found value in this video, I hope you smash that like button. If you plan on working or living in China and want to know some tips and tricks about having a better lifestyle here, consider subscribing because I post videos on a weekly basis. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time.